Welcome to African Folktales by Tammy. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more interesting stories. Also share this story to someone who might be interested. Let's get into the story. Once upon a time, in the quiet village of Umorosa, the Bluebird family's estate stood as a testament to success and privilege. The sprawling mansion, with its tall gates, blooming gardens, and shimmering fountains, was the envy of all who passed by. Chief Obiora Bluebird, a shrewd businessman, had worked tirelessly to build this empire. He shared his opulent home with his wife, Madame Stella, and their two children, Timmy and Chica. But with great wealth came great vulnerability. Umorosa had recently been plagued by a series of burglaries. Stories of masked robbers breaking into homes and stealing valuables spread like wildfire. Though the Bluebird estate was equipped with tall fences and a few security cameras, Chief Obiora felt uneasy. He decided it was time to tighten their security. "We need a guard," Chief Obiora declared one evening at dinner. "Someone strong, reliable, and vigilant. I won't let anyone put our family in danger." The next morning, the family's driver delivered word of the job opening to the village square. By noon, several candidates had shown up at the estate hoping to be hired. Among them was Daniel, a broad-shouldered man in his late 30s, with a calm demeanor and a polite smile. Daniel's appearance was impressive. His tall frame and sharp eyes exuded confidence. When Chief Obiora asked about his experience, Daniel spoke with the measured tone of someone who had years of practice convincing others. He claimed to have worked at high-profile estates, protecting dignitaries and businessmen. His references, though forged, seemed authentic. "I'm hardworking and loyal," Daniel said. "I will treat your family's safety as my personal responsibility." Chief Obiora, impressed by Daniel's composure, decided to hire him on the spot. "You'll start tonight," he said. "The safety of my family is in your hands." Daniel's arrival was met with mixed reactions. Madame Stella was relieved to see a capable guard finally hired, while Timmy and Chica were fascinated by Daniel's imposing figure. The children bombarded him with questions about his past, and Daniel indulged them with fabricated tales of bravery. However, not everyone was convinced. Mama Kamsi, the family's cook and longest-serving employee, felt something was off about Daniel. She couldn't explain why, but his too smooth answers and overly polished manners made her uneasy. "Chief, are you sure about this man?" she asked cautiously later that evening. Chief Obiora waved off her concerns. "Mama Kamsi, you worry too much. He's the best candidate we've had. Let the man do his job." As the weeks went by, Daniel settled into his role seamlessly. He was always on time, patrolling the estate with the diligence that impressed everyone. At night, he checked the locks and gates meticulously, giving the family a sense of security they had never felt before. But behind the calm exterior, Daniel had a hidden agenda. He was no ordinary security guard. He was working with a gang of robbers led by a man named Ola, who had been targeting the Bluebird estate for months. Daniel was their inside man, gathering intelligence on the family's movements, the layout of the mansion, and where valuables were kept. Every night after his patrols, Daniel would retreat to the guardhouse and send messages to Ola. He mapped out the estate's blind spots, described the placement of cameras, and detailed the family's routines. With each passing day, the robbers grew more confident that their plan would succeed. Meanwhile, Mama Kamsi kept a close eye on Daniel. She noticed that he often lingered near the mansion's storage rooms and made frequent late-night phone calls. Though she had no concrete evidence, her instincts told her something wasn't right. One evening, she mentioned her concerns to Madame Stella. "Madam, I don't trust this Daniel. He's too interested in things that don't concern him." Madame Stella smiled reassuringly. "Mama Kamsi, you're overthinking. Daniel has been nothing but professional. Let him do his job." Though Mama Kamsi nodded, she couldn't shake the feeling that danger was lurking just around the corner. Unbeknownst to the Bluebird family, the stage was being set for the betrayal that would shake their lives to the core. Daniel's careful plotting and the robbers' ruthless ambition would soon collide with the loyalty of one cook, leading to a night no one in Umoosa would ever forget. Life at the Bluebird estate seemed calm after Daniel's arrival. His towering presence and meticulous patrols reassured the family, and Madame Stella often praised his diligence. Finally, we can sleep with both eyes closed, she remarked one evening to Chief Obiora. But not everyone was at ease. Mama Kamsi, the estate's trusted cook, had an unshakable sense of unease about Daniel. Over her 20 years of working for the family, she had developed a keen instinct for people. Something about Daniel's overly polite demeanor didn't sit well with her. Her suspicions deepened one morning when she noticed Daniel inspecting the mansion's back entrance. From her vantage point in the kitchen, she watched him linger there longer than necessary, his eyes scanning every corner. She approached him casually. "Daniel, anything wrong back there?" she asked, wiping her hands on her apron. Daniel's smile was quick and disarming. "No, Mama Kamsi, just checking to make sure everything is secure. Can't be too careful, you know." His response seemed genuine, but Mama Kamsi's instincts told her otherwise. She nodded and walked away, but from that day forward, she made it her mission to observe Daniel more closely. Daniel, meanwhile, had earned the trust of the Bluebird children, Timmy and Chica. He often entertained them with tales of his supposed adventures as a security guard. "Uncle Daniel," Timmy asked one afternoon, "is it true you once caught a thief with your bare hands?" Daniel laughed, enjoying the attention. "Oh yes, Timmy, not just one thief, but two. They thought they could outsmart me, but I was too clever for them." Chica clapped her hands in amazement. "Wow, you're like a real-life superhero." Though Daniel basked in their admiration, he also paid close attention to their chatter. The children, unaware of his intentions, often revealed details about the family's routines and where valuables were kept. At night, Daniel's true nature surfaced. After completing his patrols, he would retreat to the small guardhouse near the estate gates and pull out his phone. There, under the cover of darkness, he communicated with Ola, the leader of the gang. "The family is getting too comfortable," Daniel texted one evening. "I'll send you a full map of the mansion's blind spots tomorrow. The jewels and cash are in the master bedroom safe. You'll need tools to crack it." Ola's reply came swiftly. "Good. We strike soon. Make sure nothing goes wrong." Daniel smirked as he put the phone away. He felt invincible. To him, the Bluebird family's trust was a weakness, one he intended to exploit fully. In the kitchen, Mama Kamsi remained watchful. One evening, she noticed Daniel stepping out of the guardhouse with his phone in hand. The light from the screen briefly illuminated his face before he quickly tucked it into his pocket and resumed his patrol. Her suspicions grew. "What kind of guard is always on his phone at night?" she muttered to herself. The next day, she decided to voice her concerns to Madame Stella. "Madam," she began cautiously, "I don't mean to interfere, but I think we need to keep an eye on Daniel. He's always walking around places he doesn't need to be and making late-night calls." Madame Stella waved her off with a smile. "Mama Kamsi, you worry too much. Daniel is just being thorough. That's why Chief hired him." Though disappointed by the dismissal, Mama Kamsi didn't give up. She resolved to keep her suspicions to herself for the time being, watching and waiting for any solid evidence. As the days passed, Daniel's plans with Ola reached their final stages. The gang leader was growing impatient. "We can't wait forever," he warned Daniel during a call. "You said they trust you. Make it happen." "They do," Daniel reassured him. "I've already mapped out the estate. The cameras only cover certain areas. I'll make sure the night patrols are distracted. When the time comes, you'll walk in and out without any trouble." Ola chuckled. "Good, let's make it worth the wait." What Daniel didn't realize was that his every move was being silently noted by Mama Kamsi. Though she had no idea of the full scope of his plan, she was certain that something terrible was about to happen, and she vowed to protect the Bluebird family, no matter the cost. The stage was set. The Bluebird estate, once a haven of security, was now a house of cards. One wrong move could bring it all crashing down. The fateful night arrived with a quiet stillness that seemed to blanket the Bluebird estate. The moon cast a pale glow over the mansion's grand facade, and the soft chirping of crickets filled the air. It was a night like any other, or so the Bluebird family thought. Inside, Chief Obiora and Madame Stella had retired to their bedroom after a long day. Their children, Timmy and Chica, were fast asleep in their rooms, dreaming peacefully. The estate, with its tall fences and locked gates, seemed impenetrable. But that illusion was about to be shattered. In the guardhouse, Daniel sat on a worn wooden chair, his face illuminated by the soft glow of his phone. His text to Ola, the leader of the gang, was simple but decisive. Now, the family is asleep, all clear. Ola's response came immediately. On our way. Daniel pocketed his phone and stood up, adjusting his uniform. He stepped outside, pretending to inspect the gates, all the while keeping an ear out for the faint sound of footsteps. The gang was on their way, and Daniel's betrayal was in motion. Ola and his men, dressed in black and armed with tools, moved swiftly through the shadows. They scaled the estate's tall walls with practiced ease, landing silently on the other side. Guided by Daniel's precise instructions, they navigated the mansion's exterior, avoiding the cameras and slipping into a side entrance. Inside, the robbers wasted no time. Ola led them to the family's safe in master bedroom. One of the men expertly worked the lock while the others looted drawers, pocketing jewelry and cash. Their movements were quick and efficient, each man taking only what could fit into their small backpacks. Outside, Daniel patrolled the grounds as if nothing was happening. He kept his composure, nodding occasionally to the other night guard stationed at the far end of the property. "Everything looks fine," he called out casually, masking his nerves. In the staff quarters, Mama Kamsi lay awake, unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong. She had noticed Daniel's unusual behavior earlier that evening, his quick glances at his phone, his constant pacing, and her instincts told her that danger was near. She got out of bed and moved quietly to her window, peering out into the night. At first, everything seemed normal, but then she spotted faint shadows moving near the mansion. Her heart raced. "This isn't right," she whispered. Without wasting a moment, she reached for her phone and dialed Inspector Akpan, a family friend and trusted officer. "Inspector, please come quickly," she said in a hushed tone. "I think the estate is being robbed." Inspector Akpan didn't hesitate. "Stay safe, Mama Kamsi, we're on our way." Inside the mansion, the robbers worked quickly. The safe was cracked open, revealing stacks of cash and priceless jewelry. Ola grinned, stuffing the loot into his bag. "This is the easiest job we've ever done," he whispered to his men. But outside, the sound of distant sirens broke the stillness. The robbers froze, their eyes widening in panic. "What's that?" one of them hissed. Ola cursed under his breath. "It's the police! How did they know?" Daniel, hearing the sirens as well, felt a cold wave of fear wash over him. He glanced toward the gates, seeing the flashing lights of police cars approaching. His carefully laid plan was unraveling before his eyes. Inspector Akpan and his team surrounded the estate, their guns drawn. Through a megaphone, Akpan's voice rang out, "This is the police. Drop your weapons and come out with your hands up." Panic set in among the robbers. Ola barked orders, trying to find an escape route, but every exit was blocked. One by one, the gang members began to surrender, their hands raised as they walked out of the mansion. Daniel, realizing that his involvement would soon be exposed, tried to slip away unnoticed. But his movement caught the sharp eyes of Mama Kamsi, who had stepped outside to assess the situation. "There he is," she shouted, pointing at Daniel. "He's one of them." The police moved quickly, apprehending Daniel before he could reach the gates. He didn't resist, knowing there was no escape. The commotion woke the Bluebird family, who rushed downstairs in confusion. Chief Obora's face turned pale as he took in the scene. The police, the captured robbers, and Daniel, their trusted guard, in handcuffs. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded, his voice shaking with anger. Inspector Akpan stepped forward. "Chief, your estate was targeted for a robbery tonight. Thanks to Mama Kamsi's quick thinking, we were able to stop it in time. Unfortunately, your guard here was working with the gang." Obiora's gaze snapped to Daniel, his eyes blazing with fury. "You betrayed us?" he asked, his voice low and trembling. Daniel hung his head, unable to respond. The night had been chaotic, but thanks to Mama Kamsi's vigilance, the Bluebird family was safe. The robbers were in custody, and Daniel's treachery had been uncovered. But the betrayal still hung heavy in the air, leaving the family shaken to their core. The calm of the estate had been shattered, and nothing would ever be the same. The night air was heavy with tension as the Bluebird family stood on the mansion's porch, watching the robbers being escorted into police vans. The flashing lights of the squad cars reflected off the polished walls of the grand estate, a stark reminder of how close danger had come. Chief Obiora Bluebird and Madame Stella were shaken, but relieved that the worst had been averted. But their relief was short-lived as the full extent of the betrayal came to light. Inside the estate's living room, Daniel sat in handcuffs, his head bowed. Inspector Akpan stood over him, his voice sharp and unforgiving. "Talk, Daniel," the inspector demanded. "How long have you been working with these robbers? How much did they pay you to betray the people who trusted you?" Daniel remained silent, staring at the floor. Chief Obiora, pacing the room with barely restrained fury, couldn't contain himself any longer. "I trusted you. My family trusted you. You ate our food, slept under our roof, and this is how you repay us?" At last Daniel spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "It wasn't personal, Chief. I needed the money." Obiora scoffed, his anger growing. "Needed the money? And what about my family's safety? Did that mean nothing to you?" Daniel looked up, his face lined with regret, but his words did nothing to soften the room's icy atmosphere. Meanwhile outside, Inspector Akpan's team interrogated Ola and his gang. The leader, defiant at first, eventually cracked under pressure. "It was all Daniel's idea," Ola admitted grudgingly. "He told us about the estate, the cameras, everything. He said it would be easy." "Easy," one officer shot back. "You were nearly caught the moment you entered." "Who warned us?" Ola's brow furrowed in confusion. "Warned you? Nobody was supposed to know." Daniel assured us. His words trailed off as the realization dawned on him. Someone inside the estate had outsmarted them. Back in the living room, the door creaked open and Mama Kamsi stepped in, her expression calm but resolute. Chief Obiora turned to her, his anger softening for the first time that night. "Mama Kamsi," he said, his voice heavy, "was it you who called Inspector Akpan?" She nodded. "Yes, Chief. I saw shadows moving near the house and knew something wasn't right. I couldn't sit back and do nothing." Madame Stella rushed to her, tears streaming down her face. "Mama Kamsi, you saved us. You saved our family." Mama Kamsi placed a comforting hand on Madame Stella's shoulder. "I only did what anyone loyal to this family would do, madam." Inspector Akpan spoke up. "If not for Mama Kamsi's quick thinking, this night could have ended very differently. Her vigilance is the reason the robbers didn't escape with your valuables or worse." As the police escorted Daniel and the robbers away, the Bluebird family sat together in the living room, the weight of the night's events settling over them. Timmy and Chika, who had been brought down by the commotion, sat silently beside their parents. "Why did Uncle Daniel do this?" Chika asked, her innocent voice breaking the silence. Chief Obiora struggled to find an answer. "Sometimes," he said slowly, "people make choices that hurt others, even those who trusted them. It doesn't make sense, but it happens." Madame Stella pulled the children close, her arms around their small shoulders. "What matters is that we're safe thanks to Mama Kamsi." The next morning, the family gathered in the dining room for breakfast. The atmosphere was subdued, but there was a sense of gratitude that lingered despite the betrayal. Chief Obiora turned to Mama Kamsi. "Mama Kamsi," he began, his voice filled with emotion. "You've been with this family for over 20 years, but what you did last night proved that your loyalty goes beyond duty. You're more than an employee, you're family." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a substantial bonus as a token of the family's gratitude. Mama Kamsi, though deep moved, shook her head. "Chief, I didn't do it for money. I did it because this family has been good to me." "You are my family too," Chief Obiora smiled. "Even so, you deserve this and more." As the day wore on, the Bluebird family began the process of rebuilding their sense of security. The betrayal had shaken them, but it had also taught them an important lesson. Loyalty often comes from the most unexpected places, and those who betray trust will always face the consequences. Little did they know this story would soon spread across Umorosa, becoming a tale of betrayal, vigilance, and the triumph of loyalty over greed. The events of the night left a deep scar on the Bluebird family. The mansion, once a fortress of luxury and security, now felt vulnerable and exposed. Chief Obiora Bluebird spent the following day meeting with Inspector Akpan to ensure the robbers, including Daniel, faced the full weight of the law. Back at the estate, Madame Stella tried to soothe the children, Timmy and Chica, who were still shaken. The innocence of their questions haunted her. Mama, Chica asked, her eyes wide with confusion, why would someone hurt us when we didn't hurt them? Madame Stella's heart ached at the question, but she held her daughter close and said, some people make bad choices, my love. But we're safe now because of people who care about us, like Mama Kamsi. In truth, Madame Stella felt just as betrayed as her children. Daniel had been more than a guard. He had become part of their household, someone they had trusted implicitly. That trust now lay in ruins, replaced by a mixture of anger and sorrow. Word of the robbery spread quickly through Umorosa. By mid-morning, neighbors and staff from other estates were buzzing with the tale of betrayal at the Bluebird Mansion. Daniel's actions shocked many, but what captured their attention most was the heroic role of Mama Kamsi. She's a real hero, one villager said at the market. A cook who saved a wealthy family from ruin, another added. Mama Kamsi, however, shied away from the attention. She returned to her duties in the kitchen, focusing on preparing the family's meals as though nothing had happened. But every now and then she caught the gaze of a family member, their eyes filled with gratitude and admiration. Chief Obiora returned home late in the afternoon, his face lined with exhaustion. He had spent hours with the police, reviewing security footage and ensuring the gang's incarceration was airtight. They'll be in jail for a long time, he announced to the family. He then turned his attention to the estate itself. This house must become impenetrable. I'll install better cameras, more guards, people we can trust. Despite his determination, the lingering sense of betrayal made him hesitant. Who could he trust? How could he ensure the safety of his family without opening the door to another Daniel? That evening, the family gathered in the living room to discuss the events. Inspector Akpan joined them, bringing with him a few belongings recovered from the robbers, including a detailed map of the estate that Daniel had drawn for them. This, Akpan said, spreading the map on the coffee table, is how they plan to rob you. Daniel gave them everything they needed, camera locations, blind spots, even a schedule of your routines. Chief Obiora clenched his fists. He didn't just betray us, he sold us out completely. Madame Stella, holding back tears, whispered, how did we not see it? How could we have been so blind? Inspector Akpan interjected, it's not your fault. Daniel was skilled at deception, but people like him always slip up. Thankfully, Mama Kamsi noticed those slips. The family turned to look at Mama Kamsi, who sat quietly in the corner of the room. Don't thank me, she said softly. Thank God I was awake. If I hadn't acted, who knows what could have happened. In the days that followed, the family worked together to restore their sense of security. New guards were hired after thorough background checks, and a state-of-the-art surveillance system was installed. Chief Obiora also made a decision. Mama Kamsi would have a say in the hiring of all future staff. I trust her judgment more than anyone's, he explained to Madame Stella. The children too clung to Mama Kamsi more than ever, often joining her in the kitchen as she cooked. You're our hero, Mama Kamsi, Timmy declared one day, earning a warm laugh from the cook. But while the family moved forward, the memory of Daniel's betrayal lingered. It was a painful reminder that even those closest to them could have hidden agendas. Still, they resolved to stay united, knowing that their strength as a family was their greatest defense. Little did they know, the lessons learned from this ordeal would not only protect them, but also inspire others across Umorosa. The tale of loyalty, betrayal, and redemption would live on, reshaping how the community valued trust and vigilance. The weeks that followed the robbery were marked by change. The Bluebird estate, once a haven of unguarded luxury, was transformed into a fortress. High-tech cameras scanned every corner, motion sensors were installed along the perimeter, and a team of thoroughly vetted guards now patrolled the grounds around the clock. But for the Bluebird family, the most significant change was not in their security systems, it was in their understanding of trust. Chief Obiora Bluebird, once confident in his ability to judge character, became more cautious in his dealings. He spent more time with his family, ensuring they felt safe and protected. Madame Stella, who had always been warm and welcoming to employees, now hesitated before letting anyone new into their lives. The children, Timmy and Chica, were still processing what had happened. They often clung to their mother or followed Mama Kamsi around the kitchen, asking questions. Mama Kamsi, Chica asked one day, do you think Daniel was ever really our friend? Mama Kamsi paused, her hands deep in a bowl of dough. It's hard to say, my dear. Sometimes people pretend to care, but deep down they have other plans. That's why it's important to always trust your instincts and pay attention to people's actions, not just their words. Her words stuck with Chica, who nodded thoughtfully before running off to join her brother. News of the Bluebird family's ordeal spread far beyond the borders of Umorosa. Villagers and neighbors began taking extra precautions, inspired by the quick thinking and bravery of Mama Kamsi. Many visited the estate to commend her, bringing small gifts and words of gratitude. You've shown us all what loyalty truly looks like, one elder told her during a visit. Mama Kamsi, ever humble, brushed off the praise. I only did what needed to be done, she said, but her actions had left a lasting impression. In a time when loyalty was often undervalued, she had proven that true dedication could save lives and rebuild trust. One day, Chief Obiora decided to visit Daniel in prison. He needed answers not for justice. Justice had already been served, but for closure. Daniel sat behind a glass partition, looking thinner and more subdued than the confident man who had once patrolled the estate. Why? Obiora asked, his voice steady but tinged with pain. We trusted you. My family treated you like one of us. Why did you betray us? Daniel sighed, his shoulders slumping. I was desperate, he admitted. I thought I could get away with it. I didn't think about the consequences. I didn't think about your family. Obiora stared at him for a long moment before replying. You didn't just betray me, Daniel. You betrayed the values of loyalty and trust. I hope you reflect on that while you're in here. Without waiting for a response, Obiora stood and walked away, leaving Daniel to sit alone with his regrets. Back at the estate, the family decided to honor Mama Kamsi for her bravery. They hosted a small gathering, inviting close friends and neighbors to celebrate her heroism. During the event, Chief Obiora stood and raised a glass. Mama Kamsi has been with us for over 20 years, but it wasn't until that fateful night that we truly understood the depth of her loyalty. She saved not just our home, but our lives. For that, we owe her more than we can ever repay. He presented her with a plaque inscribed with the words, To Mama Kamsi, the guardian angel of the Bluebird family. Your courage and loyalty will never be forgotten. The room erupted in applause, and Mama Kamsi, holding the plaque with trembling hands, smiled through her tears. Thank you, she said, her voice choked with emotion. This family has been my home for so long. I only did what anyone would do for the people they love. Though the scars of betrayal would never fully fade, the Bluebird family emerged stronger and wiser. They learned to cherish the people who had proven their loyalty and to be cautious in placing trust in others. Mama Kamsi, now more than ever, was an integral part of their family, a constant reminder of the power of vigilance and dedication. As the village of Umorosa buzzed with the story of the Bluebird estate, it became more than just a tale of betrayal. It was a story of loyalty triumphing over greed, of a family rediscovering their strength, and of a humble cook whose bravery had turned the tide. This story teaches us that trust must be earned and continuously verified, as blind faith can lead to betrayal. True loyalty, like that demonstrated by Mama Kamsi, is priceless and often comes from unexpected places, proving its worth in times of crisis. It also highlights the importance of vigilance, quick thinking, and standing up for what is right, even when others may not see the danger. Ultimately, it reminds us that while wealth and security systems can protect a home, it is the loyalty and actions of trustworthy individuals that truly safeguard a family. We've come to the end of this story. Please subscribe to my channel to support me. Thank you.